Okay, here we go. We're doing another account structuring video. And today we are going to look at an interesting site that's a little bit different than what we've done in the past, or past couple of videos we've done just like e-commerce retailers. But this time we're going to look at an app. So, hopefully this is continuing to be valuable for everyone kind of checking these videos out, and it's still fun for us. So, yeah, we'll get in here. John, do you want to tell me a little bit about OnX and like what it is and what it's for?
Yeah, absolutely. So OnX is something that I use personally. And if you aren't familiar with it, what it is essentially is a mapping and GPS app for different off road pursuits, particularly hunting, off road, and backcountries. You can see their main categories at the top there. So it's very immersive, a lot of different functions, and it's essentially a complete catch-all for I use it for hunting, so finding places to hunt, tracking your steps while you hunt, your trails. You can mark waypoints, plan routes. I mean, I only personally scratch the surface of what it's capable of. Like I said, it is very, very feature rich and immersive. So definitely not doing it justice right now, but there's a lot of different functionality within it. Very comprehensive system.
Right. Okay, cool. So is kind of what I'm seeing here, is this in-app as well?
Correct. Yes. They have a desktop version, and I think the desktop version. I'm sure you could download an app for it, but I personally don't. You could just access this on their website. Mostly, I use it on the phone.
Okay, awesome. Okay. So here's the thing that from a very high level, here's how I see it, how it's different than e-commerce. So I think the big thing here is we are not selling, there are no atoms associated with this, right? There's no physical product. So, what we've kind of talked about in the past a little bit is, when we're running paid ads in a particular campaign, there's an amount of kind of profitability analysis that you have to do. So if you've got like $100 item and say it's like a 50% margin product, that means you've got like $50 cost of sale to sell that product, to maintain profitability, because otherwise you get into the position of spending more money than you're getting out in terms of profit. So, the thing that's cool about this kind of product is you can be pretty aggressive with the marketing of it because, there's no variable cost effectively. So, if this, let's see, what are the pricing is that? Okay, so $30 per year is kind of the minimum, all the way up to $100 per year. So depending on what you are landing as far as like your customer type, you could spend $30 to acquire that customer for the year, or up to $100 depending on what is going on. So I think the one thing when you're tracking conversion, whether this is on Google search, Facebook, or whatever other platform you're using, some way of kind of distinguishing the conversion type is probably useful. I guess if you're pumping in revenue, you'd be able to see, oh, okay, we've got a monthly subscription for $15, yearly subscription, etc. In terms of business model, the monthly one is a little bit interesting because, if you land and convert that user, you'll get that $15 minimum. But I would be curious to see what the customer lifetime value is on a monthly subscription. So if you average, say, 3 or 6 months subscription with a monthly subscription, then that kind of factors into the value of that conversion. Whereas, these other kind of annual subscriptions, that's probably, I think it's somewhat safe to say that that's kind of the value. And then potentially you could do a longer term analysis to see like, okay, a $100 a year customer sticks around for 2 or 3 years, and you can value the conversion that way. So kind of thinking about the value of a conversion here. But let's kind of go back. I think we want to kind of focus on Google Ads campaigns this time, because on the previous videos we focused quite a bit on Facebook. So we want to give the viewers a opportunity to see a little bit more into the Google space. So let's take a quick look. The first thing I want to see, we think about these things in terms of like brand and non-brand. So let's see what shows up here. So obviously they're running their own campaigns. So we've got this here. OnX maps showing up, first organically. There's really not anything in here that's not pointing towards OnX. So, and it does look like they have a competitor here with Go Hunt. So brand search is one kind. Probably go straight for sales. The AOVs are low enough I'm not really worried about building like a huge funnel. If you can solve the problem that the user is trying to get to, you're probably good to go. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about this. We've already kind of touched on it, so let's mention it. Competitor campaigns. So the competitor here, so Go Hunt, that's something that we could do. We'd also see what other, John, you're not aware of any other kind of competing products, are you?
I would maybe try checking out Gaia, Gaia. That is more for just general backcountry hiking, backcountry skiing, etc.
Oh, okay. I see. We can add that. I'll just add this underneath the product here. So Go Hunt, Gaia. Anything else coming to mind?
Not as far as competitors go. I mean, you have the traditional, I guess it's more of a hard goods, but like Garmin, I believe they are all going to have their own kind of maps features
Oh, right.
within their different products. So anybody that makes like GPS products, Garmin, Suunto, things of that nature. I don't know how direct of a competitor that would be. I mean, not totally direct.
Right. On some level, like a Strava is almost a competitor too, because it's
Correct. Yeah.
those sort of things, but a little bit different of a use case. So I'm not sure that would make sense. In general, with competitor campaigns, this is kind of, you have to be able to, in order for them to be profitable, you kind of have to be sure that it truly is like a competing product. They've got to be direct competitors. That use case and the problem that you're solving has to be very, very close. They have to be almost substitute products. And the other thing that's really important to maintain profitability for a competitor campaign is your product has to be better. Like if somebody is searching Go Hunt and they're searching Go Hunt, they're already familiar with the brand, and you're going to pull them away from that search query, you got to be pretty confident that your product is better, because these clicks, they can get expensive, and the volume on them, especially if it's a really notable brand, there can be a lot of search query volume. So, you just have to be really spot on and have to be in a good position to poach customers from your other competitors. So, yeah.
And there is another aspect to Go Hunt that OnX does not have. They actually have an e-commerce aspect as well, where they curate a relatively large selection of hunting and outdoor products from numerous different brands. So that's something that Go Hunt does that OnX does not.
Right. Oh, and it looks, so OnX is serving an ad on Go Hunt. So I don't know if they're doing this intentionally. A lot of the campaign automation these days, like Performance Max, they tend to kind of stretch into competitor campaigns like this, kind of under the radar. So I'm just kind of curious what else is in here. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yep. So they've got an e-commerce side of the business too that they're probably driving traffic. So very interesting. Yeah, in some ways, they're direct competitors in other ways. They've got nothing to do with each other, so it's kind of an interesting thing to look at. But why don't we kind of think that's a kind of good dive into competitors' campaigns in general. So Go Hunt Gaia, let's kind of leave that there. Let's look. Oh, this is geo targeting, but let's do this. Conversion goal, we'll keep that there. And then US. And I know we got this a little bit separate, but I would probably run this as two different ad groups under a single campaign. Okay, now that we're looking at non-brand, I think we're gonna look at, let's go back to OnX. We've got kind of three main products. So off-road, this is kind of your, what do we call it? Your overlanding trip planning, maybe?
That's what I would categorize it as.
And I'm not as familiar with this space. We're going to pull up the keyword research tool. So I'm going to go in here. Let's go. I could spell it correctly. All right, so that keyword, sort of 40 monthly queries, not a ton. Keywords look like they're reasonably priced. So Verland, back. That's kind of what the use case is here, right, John?
Primarily, yes. I mean, the off road is more of just like we said, off roading, overlanding, snowmobiling. Hunting is obviously hunting. In backcountry, they break it down into hiking and like ski touring.
Right. Okay. Let's also. So in my experience, like this kind of question related query might be a good thing to go in here. So like, right. So that's what I'm looking for. Off-road trails near me. We can kind of jump in here to see what we're doing. Okay. So OnX is doing a great job on their organic side of things. So beginner off-road trails near Seattle, which is where I am. So they're kind of getting in on this kind of local query. Let's see. Yeah, I really like this. Jeep off-road trails near me. I mean, this kind of trails near me in general. I'm starting to like that. You can kind of see. Yeah, I'd be kind of curious to see how this would perform on the more general side of things. Because you could technically try to funnel a user from this like trails near me query into the home page and then let the user kind of figure out whether they're here to off-road, backcountry, or hunt. Now, if we could kind of narrow down that intent a little bit. So let's go back in here. So off-road trails near me. We could go here. And that would be hunting. And then I call it like backcountry skiing, right? That's the primary use case of the backcountry one, right?
I think hiking is probably primary.
Oh,
Um,
hiking. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because if we go back onto the search results page, well, so this is less of a, so OnX, it's a little bit more about kind of a less, like I think hiking trails near me, that's going to be more like your you know, state parks kind of hiking intent, as far as kind of this search results where we can see like local kind of like hiking trails in the area. Um, but the backcountry product, this is more like bushwhacking, right? Or off trail.
Yes, I would. I don't really know how best to classify that, but yeah, it's definitely more backcountry, off grid, um, out of town.
Okay, yeah, and I know from personal experience, like backcountry, like there's no such thing as like a backcountry trail. You know, maybe somebody cuts it in, you know, on first tracks when they're skinning up somewhere. Mountain bike trails, these are more defined. It looks like, okay, so this is pulling in the MTB project data, which I'm familiar with as a mountain biker. So these are kind of defined built trails, and then rock climbing. Okay, so mountain biking trails near me, rock climbing trail or rock climbing areas near me. Those we can do. Okay, and those will all be kind of non-brand. So that's actually quite a bit. Yeah, anything else to add here, John?
I don't think so. I mean, I would just, this is where you kind of use the brand as a guide. And, you know, for this particular product, they're obviously targeting in on hiking, mountain biking, skiing, and rock climbing. So, I
Yep.
mean, I think just keep it specific to the product.
Yeah, and then of course, oh, here's a good thing to think about: landing page experience, right? So if someone's searching mountain bike trails near me, we need to land the user as close to that intent as possible. So does that have, this doesn't go any deeper. This is probably where I would land that user from that query. Let's see if there's anything more. If there was an anchor for this page, maybe to drive them towards something that kind of implies that there's mountain bike trail information. Let's see, real-time GPS tracking. Okay, so these defined trails are also part of the app too. So you start, actually, I take that back. We could go for like trails near me, and that would imply hiking trails. We need to land them here. So I guess, you know, if I was going to make a recommendation to these folks about their website, if we were building, you know, campaigns that were targeting these search intents, I would want to see landing pages that could be better suited to these specific intents. So using something like Unbounce, and you can kind of build like a landing page experience specifically to this search intent, because we've got quite a few here that are relevant, and just kind of have it. So, you know, if the user landed here from a rock climbing trails near me search query, you'd kind of land here and say like hiking and ski maps, that might be a little weird. You know, changing, you know, the background image, the copy here, some of the images here, you know, that could be useful, or just kind of showing use cases of, you know, people climbing or mountain biking or whatever is relevant. That could be great to improve conversion rate on this page. Let's see, in terms of search query, okay, copy. Let's talk about what kind of copy we'd want to see on here. So oh, let's, I guess since we're here, we could like a target ROAS, we could go as low as 1-to-1 here, as we kind of mentioned the business model. You're not selling any physical product. There's no inventory associated. So your revenue generated your cost. If you were being super aggressive, you could go 1-to-1 on return on ad spend. But in terms of like the value propositions of the product that we want to test and copy, let's go back to the product here.
Joe, this is where I would click on features, and it breaks down the different features within each of the different products here. And this is where I was saying at the outset that it's very feature rich. So there's a lot of things that you could do with this, from like route planning, like I said, waypoint marking. There's just a lot of different things, and it breaks it down pretty well lower on the page.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. So trail mode, so discover new trails, build routes, monitor air quality. Oh, this is all fantastic. Each one of these items could be like a headline or a description in RSA ad copy. What you could even do is build out a couple of variations of that RSA ad copy that focus on a specific value proposition. That way you can see like which one really engages with the user as a part of an ad set. So smoke forecast, like air quality, man, that almost even turns into a different search intent that you could target. Again, you'd need like another landing page experience that that kind of explained this a little bit better. But that's all really interesting. Yeah, and to your point, John, there's a lot of stuff loaded in here that I didn't even know about. How to use OnX for backcountry or hiking. Let's see. Oh, target. I think you could use different copy and variations. So if we're doing like a backcountry ski campaign, the copy that we would want to use would probably focus on these items. So avalanche forecast, winter satellite imagery. Like I know avalanche forecast is really, really important for anyone that's winter backcountry person. As well as slope angle, because this kind of helps you to plan your trips safely. So all of these items, I would want to see like headlines and descriptions tested out for sure. Offline maps, this is a more general kind of value proposition, so it can probably go across a bunch of different ad sets. Let's see. John, what are your favorite features of this product?
Really, on the hunting product, my favorite features are just the fact that the map itself breaks down the borders for private land versus public land. And if it's private land, it actually will provide the name of the landowner. There's also different waypoints. That's what I use it a lot for, and route tracking. So as you're tracking your route, you could drop a waypoint and say like, oh, I saw a moose over there, or there's hundreds of different waypoints that you can mark, everything from like scat to antler sheds, just anything that's going to give you more data to inform future trips. There's also different layers that you could build in, which is not really something that I have messed around much with, but yeah, it's just different ways to kind of show different things. Like I'm looking at one of their pages here, and it's a turkey hunting layer, and it's the National Wild Turkey Federation, which helps you pinpoint different areas with high turkey population based on hunting reports. So there's just a ton of different things that you could do with this. Like I said, I barely scratched the surface, and this is again, I don't really think that this level of detail is too applicable on the level of campaign planning that we're doing here. This is more to inform like copy and maybe site link extensions, things like that.
Yeah, let's talk about site links for a second, because in my opinion, that's one of the most important ad extensions to use. It gets delivered the most, and they tend to improve click-through rate quite a bit. Now, just at a really high level, the purpose or the way to kind of think about site links is generally that you're trying to help the user get deeper into or kind of lower into the funnel from awareness to purchase as possible. So, if someone is just searching on X, but it turns out they're a turkey hunter, for example, having a site link that kind of would drop them onto this page, it helps them along the kind of purchase funnel journey a little bit quicker. And the idea is that improves conversion rate. So, if we're looking at site links here, I think the obvious one is if it was a general OnX search query or a more general query about like, hey, backcountry trip planning, maybe a site link for each kind of category of OnX would be good. So, having a site link for hunt, off-road, and backcountry, that would allow the user to get from a more general like kind of trail intent and directly into sort of one of these three verticals. Yeah, I'm trying to think because it kind of jam all of the features onto this page. The free trial startup, this is probably an easy one to throw at least onto like a brand campaign. So if someone is already familiar with the product somewhat, and you just want to get them into the funnel, hey, free 7-day trial, that's an easy one to throw in. Or I wasn't showing that tab, but yeah, kind of landing them here directly from an OnX brand query, that would probably be a solid converting site link. Let's see.
While we're on the topic of site links, maybe it would be a good idea, Joe, to just Google just a quick example of what site links look like
Oh,
in the
sure.
wild, just to show folks what we're talking about here and how it actually shows up.
Yeah, so this is one of our other clients, All Things Barbecue. And this is an organic version, but it's almost exactly the same for paid. So this is the organic listing, and then you can drive deeper into the site through these site links. So, hey, I'm searching for All Things Barbecue. I'm familiar with the brand, but I'm looking for a particular barbecue rub. And then I just go straight here. I don't have to go to the home page and get lost or distracted by pictures of cats or something like that. So yeah, that's just an easy example of what a site link is for. But going back to OnX, is pricing, that might be a decent place to land someone, especially again on a brand term. If someone is already somewhat familiar, and I was like, hey, what does this thing cost? And just let them know as quickly as possible. That's probably a good one. Let's see, anything else going on the site? Oh, here's one thing to think about. So because they have the apps, actually, this is kind of important. We are going to have to segment all of these campaigns, whether the user is on desktop or mobile, which typically, like, we don't really care about that much these days because, in the past, mobile conversion rates were always quite a bit weaker than desktop because, punching in credit card information, on a mobile device used to be pretty painful. But these days, Google Chrome or the browsers help you fill in that information quite a bit, and even like Apple Pay is integrated in a lot of carts. So the ability for somebody to purchase on a mobile device is a lot easier now. So we don't see conversion rates being as weak. The context of when a person uses a desktop device versus a mobile device, that's still relevant. So we don't see exactly the same conversion rates. But I think one thing that's notable here is instead of like a on website sale here, there's definitely the goal of an app install. So the app install is probably only going to happen on mobile, or it's going to happen more likely on mobile. And so the conversion goal is going to be a little bit different here. We look at the Google side of things. We go into conversion goals. I do believe, yep, right here, app installs through, if they're on an Android device, they will have that Google Play install. You can set that up as a conversion event. So that's just something to be aware of as you're kind of setting up your metrics for success. So the app installs, again, that's a little bit different. You're probably not going to track revenue on that because then the sale is going to happen once the app is installed. So that's something else to track. So it's a little bit more complicated, but something that I forgot to think about because we don't do too much in the way of like app install clients. So something to be talking about. Let's see. This is actually quite a bit in terms of like all of the different search intents. John, to your point, there's a lot of features on this product. And so, when you jump in here and look at all the feature sets of each different vertical, this is pretty much all of the search intent that you can kind of dig up. You can do a lot of keyword research. If there's a lot of features and value propositions to solve, that means there's a corresponding number of search queries that you can target. So yeah, it's kind of hard to keep this one a high level because there's a lot of little details here that keep things interesting. But yeah, that's where we'd start here. So John, anything to add?
I don't think so. I think that was a good overview. And, just to reiterate what you said, this is very high level how we would start this and go about it. With a product that is this feature rich, would obviously require a lot more in-depth work. But I think what we were just presenting there is a really good way to start and go about it. So I wouldn't add anything else.
Yeah. There's a lot that kind of goes into this sort of campaign. So, at the end of the day, you got to look at your engagement numbers, your conversion numbers, model out the business and your revenue, right? So you stay profitable and test everything, So I think that's going to be about it for today. Anything else, John?
Not from me.
All right. Well, if you're watching this and you found it interesting, go ahead and give us a subscribe. We'll be doing this at least once a month. And then you can always check us out at frontsideconsulting.com. We got a newsletter there that comes out monthly as well, so you can sign up for that to find out more. And then just we're on social media, Instagram, Facebook, X, and LinkedIn. So you can follow us on all of those platforms and stay abreast of all the interesting things that we're going to be talking about digital marketing. So thanks, everyone.
I would also add, check out our blog too on our
Right.
website.
Yeah.
We go into a lot of different topics, digital marketing, particularly paid media. And the blog is starting to get pretty robust. We've got a lot of really good information in there, and you could check that out on our website. And every time we post a new blog, it goes out on our social channels. So to stay up to date with that, make sure you give us a follow.
Great. All right, everyone. Thanks for the time.